Good afternoon to everyone, Honorable Minister Rapapa, Distinguished Assistant Director General Brito, distinguished panelists, dear colleagues and participants. It is a great honor and a privilege to welcome you all to this event today to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the founding of the International Center for Theoretical Physics, ICTP, in Trieste, Italy, but also the 70th anniversary of Italy's membership to the UN. Founded in 1964 by the visionary Nobel laureate Abdus Salam, the ICTP was born out of a bold and essential idea that science in its purest form should transcend borders and that excellence in research should be accessible to all, particularly to scientists from the global south. There is a profound sense of pride for Italy to serve as the host country of this extraordinary institution. The city of Trieste, a unique crossroads of cultures, languages, and ideas, has always embodied a spirit of internationalism. Over 6 decades, the ICTP has trained tens of thousands of scientists from across the world, many of whom have gone on to become leading figures in academia, government, and international organizations, and supported groundbreaking research in physics and mathematics, fostering a global network of knowledge and solidarity. In many African institutions today, one can find professors, researchers, and science leaders who trace their academic roots to the ICTP. This is not coincidence. It is the fulfillment of a promise made 60 years ago to democratize science and to empower nations through education and research. The ICTP also epitomizes science at the service of the Sustainable Development Goals and ultimately of humanity. For example, one of the most exciting and impactful frontiers that ICTP has championed is quantum science. The ICTP is ultimately a tangible example of the role of science, technology, and innovation for sustainable growth and climate action as outlined in the Pact for the Future. Italy is proud to have played a central role in supporting this mission. We have been providing long-term financial support and political backing, not only as a host country, but as a committed partner in advancing science diplomacy. The ICTP is more than just a center for physics. It is a laboratory for international cooperation, a place where dialogue, exchange, and innovation flourish beyond borders. I would also like to recall that Italy's contribution to ICTPs makes our country one of the top 5 contributors to UNESCO in the first quarter of 2025. We are also proud of the enduring partnership between our government, UNESCO, and the International Atomic Energy Agency, without which the ICTP could not have achieved its global reach. I take this opportunity to also thank the Simons Foundation, an important donor and supporter of the center, represented here today by its senior vice president. To conclude, I would like to express our heartfelt congratulations to the ICTP's directors, scientists, alumni, and staff, past and present. Your dedication over 6 decades has transformed countless lives, advanced global knowledge, and brought the world closer together. Thank you very much. Grazie to all of you. Thank you. And now I give, I give the floor to the moderator. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's high-level event, Advancing Global Scientific Cooperation for Sustainable Development, Leveraging Quantum Science for a Resilient Future. It is my distinct honor to welcome you as a former diploma and PhD student of ICTP and to acknowledge our esteemed co-host, the Permanent Mission of Italy to the United Nations, UNESCO, for their leadership and partnership in convening this important gathering. This event is part of ongoing efforts by Italy, UNESCO, and its partners to strengthen the science policy interface, ensuring that breakthroughs in quantum and basic sciences inform inclusive and resilient development strategies. It is also held in the context of the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology, IYQ, led by UNESCO, which celebrates the power of quantum science to address global challenges and promote international cooperation. As someone who has studied physics and quantum science, I'm personally inspired by the growing relevance of international scientific cooperation in advancing sustainable development. In an era marked by accelerating climate change, growing demands for clean water, and the urgent need for a just energy transition, the role of science, and particularly quantum science, is more critical than ever. Quantum technologies are not only reshaping the frontiers of knowledge, but are also opening up new pathways for innovations in areas such as computing, climate modeling, and machine learning. Institutions like the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics and the Abdus Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics, ICTP, with their commitment to excellence, equity, and global talent, are vital in fostering the breakthroughs and collaborations we need. Today's discussion will explore how quantum science, rooted in both fundamental research and interdisciplinary application, can contribute to building a more resilient and sustainable future. Our distinguished panelists, each a leader in their field, will share insights on how to harness the transformative power of science and global partnerships to accelerate progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. It is now my pleasure to invite our co-host, which has started already, to formally open this event. We are deeply grateful for the permanent mission of Italy to the United Nations and to UNESCO for their commitment to advancing global scientific dialogue. It is now my pleasure to invite Dr. Lidia Artur-Brito, Assistant Director General for Natural Sciences, to take the floor. Edith Brito, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Stella. Dear Minister, dear Ambassador Excellencies, colleagues and friends, it's my great pleasure to welcome you all to this important event co-organized with Italy. I extend my sincere gratitude to Italy for its partnership in hosting today's gathering, which holds special significance to UNESCO. Italy has constantly supported UNESCO's mission, particularly within the realm of science, demonstrated through the hosting of the Abdus Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics, ICTP, the World Academy of Science, both based in Trieste, as well as UNESCO Water Program in Perugia. And this UNESCO program is quite important because it serves as the coordination hub for the UN World Water Development Report. And many of you that are based here in New York know that the last report, the report 2025 on water towers, glaciers as water towers, was launched both here at the UN, but also in UNESCO Paris on the 21st of March. So really, Ambassador, through you, a huge thanks to your government, to the people of Italy, for the huge support to the science in UNESCO. I would also like to thank the Honorable Minister Ntoy Paul Rapapa, Minister of Education and Training of Lesotho, for joining us today, as well as our distinguished panelists and the keynote speaker, dear Professor Aldan, a Nobel laureate in physics and someone that can really ignite our interest in the topic of today's gathering, quantum science. Distinguished participants, from the technologies that connect us to the medical advances that improves our lives, science is embedded in our daily existence. In today's turbulent times, science does more than provide solutions. It strengthens societies by building resilience and sustainability. As UNESCO's constitution reminds us, science is a powerful tool for building peace in the minds of men and women. For 80 years, UNESCO has been a driving force in global scientific progress, establishing landmark institutions like CERN, hosting the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission, and pioneering transformative programs such as the Man and the Biosphere Program, the International Hydrological Program that this year celebrates 50 years of existence, and in fact, water science is celebrating in UNESCO 60 years of existence, and understanding that these programs were created. Man and Biosphere it's now around 53 years old, and it was the governing boards of UNESCO that said we are going to have problems with the environment, we are going to have problems with water, so we better build these international intergovernmental scientific programs to really make sure that these topics are in the agenda and there is science to help decision making. Of course, we have also our basic science program as a central part of our work on fundamental research. Our leadership extends from advancing open science worldwide to championing gender equality in STEM fields. Building on this legacy, UNESCO is now democratizing science through remote access of laboratory facilities worldwide. We are enabling climate action through our scientific programs in water, biodiversity, oceans, and geoscience. We are closing the gender gap in science through targeted advocacy and specific programs. We are more than ever advancing science policy to bridge divides and foster international cooperation. We are also going in a very strong way, building capacity and building resilience for disasters through our disaster risk reduction program in many, many countries around the world. And as you know, UNESCO is leading the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology, and we are hoping that this important year will lead to a global agenda in quantum science and technology. These efforts will collectively contribute to the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development 2024-2033, which UNESCO again is spearheading to mobilize global partners in aligning with the Pact of the Future and the very ambitious agenda that pact put forward. We also celebrate scientific excellence through prestigious initiatives as the L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science Award and the Carlos J. Finlay Prize for Microbiology to honor the visionaries who expand the frontiers of knowledge and inspire generations to come. Today, we celebrate the 60th anniversary of ICTP, UNESCO prestigious Category 1 institute, dedicated to excellence and scientific cooperation, advancing scientific expertise, especially in developing countries. ICTP is a cornerstone of international scientific cooperation. Nearly 200,000 scientists from around the world have benefited from its programs, overcoming barriers of geopolitics, gender, and ethnicity. ICTP exemplifies UNESCO commitments to build scientific capacity, advancing open science, and nurturing global cooperation, notably in emerging fields such as quantum science. As we enter the International Decade of Science for Sustainable Development and mark the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology, UNESCO stands ready to continue to support the scientific and diplomatic communities to deepen global scientific cooperation for more inclusive, peaceful, and a sustainable future. I thank you all for your presence.
Thank you, Edidi Brito, for highlighting UNESCO leadership in advancing quantum science and fostering inclusive, forward-looking research ecosystems. Your insights underscore the organization's unique role in bridging science and policy to accelerate the 2030 Agenda and the SDGs. Thank you once more, ADG Brito, for those important reflections. It is now my great honor to welcome His Excellency Mr. Toy Rapapa, Minister of Education and Training of the Kingdom of Lesotho. Minister, we are delighted to have you with us today. Your presence speaks of the critical importance of integrating scientific advancement into national education systems and of ensuring that quantum science and innovation are accessible to all. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, the moderator, Dr. Inak. Allow me to pay my respects to the UN leadership, the government of Italy and the government of Lesotho, through the ambassador from Italy, our ambassador here and our ambassador from Lesotho, UNESCO, Dr. Brito, the ICTP director, Abdul Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics. Also, my gratitude to my supervisor in 1994-95, Professor Scandalo is here, who was my supervisor when I was a student in Italy. My gratitude to all the scientists here, the panelists and the Nobel laureates who are here with us. I'm happy and excited to be here and be part of this high-level event. As has been highlighted by the moderator, I also represent alumni students of the International Center for Theoretical Physics. And mainly I'll just talk to you about the Objective 2, which is showcasing ICTP commitment to inclusivity and diversity, and also empowering scientists from developing countries. And finally, I'll just mention a bit about being a minister of education coming from ICTP and the science background. My story started in 1994 when I applied for scholarship in ICTP. And when I went there, I got a scholarship and admission. And the students that I was with, most of them had done masters from their developing countries, but I was the only one with an undergraduate BSc in maths and physics. It was not easy. The first 2 months was something else, but hard work pays, and I managed to go through that program. And also, it was for the first time that when I get there, during the orientation, we were told that in December after the exams, if you fail, I don't remember whether it was 2 courses or 3 courses, you had to go home. It was so hard. And it was in reality because in January, one of our colleagues, out of respect, I will not say the country from where he comes from, he had to leave in January. So that was how hard it was. So we had to work very hard. But really, what I always appreciate was, it was the first time that I get a visa to go somewhere. It was the first time that I got into the plane. So the ICTP, to me, I have a lot of memories about the first time I get into the plane, the first time I see people driving on the right, because at home we drive on the left. So it was a good experience. And out of the program that I did, I was able to do a PhD in theoretical physics, condensed matter theoretical physics at the University of Manchester from ICTP, which was a big and excellent achievement for me. And I worked at the university as a lecturer until I became a professor of physics. And without going through ICTP, I'm not really sure whether the discipline will be there, the hard work will be there, the career path that I followed will be there. But this is one of the things that I appreciate about the ICTP. Even when we have left ICTP, I joined the Junior Associate Program, which we used to go there and research for 2 to 3 months and come back to our own countries. What I like was that the ICTP idea was come from the developing countries, get capacitated and get trained and go back to assist in your own country. So that is one of the things that I appreciated a lot. And somehow I became also the head of the department. And in 2010, the Minister of Natural Resources came to the university and we had a broader discussion. And he said, you have to leave the university and assist in different fields in the best possible way that you can do. Then I became the chief executive of the regulator for electricity and water. So you are dealing with the quality of water, quality of electricity, and science is there. And now you are dealing with pricing. Pricing is done by economists, but if you come from the theoretical background and theoretical physics, you are able to read and understand. And people who were in the economic division of the regulatory function wouldn't understand how I could manage to understand what they were doing and correcting them in many, very ways. So that means if you have gone through theoretical physics, or at least you have done basic sciences, your level of understanding and comprehension is far much bigger than you can think of. So I was very productive for the 2 terms that I had there. Then from there, the Prime Minister of the country, the then Prime Minister, came to me and said, you have worked well in the university, you have worked well as a regulator, but now I want you at one point to become the Minister of Education. And you see, to become the Minister of Education now, you have to understand the path to get there. The path to get there, it means you have to be attached to the society where you come from and align yourself now with community development and the language that you talk there and how you grow up within a system of politics. So as a scientist, you know, when you know the end result and the end game, you do the background, but you always base yourself on facts and data that you have. And I had to go through that. Quietly, I had to analyze the constituents where I come from, the age group, the interest, the dynamics within the constituency. What is of big interest to these people, to the youth, to the middle age, and the old? And you have to address all of those things and have a way to address them. And you would also know how much you have to invest your time on what kind of population dynamics and the age. And then I was able to do that. And then I became an MP for the constituency. And then I became the Assistant Minister of Education. Then after some time, I became the Minister of Energy. Now I'm back to the Minister of Education. So all what I'm saying is that at least where I'm standing now, you are at the head of the decision-making processes. Particularly, you'll still be biased to education and science, but you'll become more productive. And the last words that I always want to say, it's not easy for scientists or academicians to go into politics because it sounds a little bit weird. But I had people along the way who were encouraging me to do it. And I remember when I was telling my supervisor that I'm now leaving the academics. He was saying, we are losing a great physicist. But I say, I will still continue in a different forum to make inputs. And this is how I'm making input, at least at the highest level of making decisions for the country. The scientist is one myself who is there, and I'm representing the entire science people in my own country. And what is good about science is that it knows no boundaries, and it has no political lenses to see other things that people see. And therefore, it's mainly about humanity. It's about sustainable development and pact for future to get to 2033. The last words that I want to say is that I never thought I would travel that path, but with the guidance and the supervision that you get along the way, and people recognizing your ability to do things differently, is the one that will always put us somewhere else. And I'm always happy when I meet scientists, and I'm always happy when I'm among the academicians. And for the ambassador and the ICTP to invite me to come here was a pleasure for me. And my Prime Minister, who is coming from the business background, he was saying, what is the significance of your visit there? Then I told him that for me, this is far better than everything. You see, I am who I am and working with you as a Minister of Education because of that center. And the privilege that I've been invited, I will forever cherish in my entire career and my lifetime, that at least I have participated in this forum. And also I have to say that you forgive me for talking a little bit longer. When you move from science to politics, you tend to become a little bit longer than you're supposed to. Thank you very much, Kiarewo.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for sharing this very inspiring story of your journey from Lesotho to ICTP, to Manchester, and back to Lesotho, and how you are basically changing the landscape there in Lesotho. Thank you very much. As we conclude the opening segment, I would like to thank our distinguished speakers. We'll now screen a 1-minute video on the International Decade of Science prepared by UNESCO, while our panelists move to the podium. Thank you.
If there's one species that's used to challenges, it's humankind. Throughout history, we have defied the impossible to make sure we and our loved ones have a safe place to rest and all the necessary conditions to thrive. Why would it be different now? As we, human beings, are facing the biggest challenge of all time. Our time is running out. In 2024, UNESCO calls on humanity to embark on a 10-year journey, harnessing the transformative power of science to tackle global challenges such as the SDGs, the Paris Agreement, and the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. The goal is to better inform the action of decision makers, boost the trust in science among citizens, and strengthen the collaboration between experts under the concept of open science. Join us in the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development, fostering science for all.
Thank you. It is now my great pleasure to introduce Professor F. Duncan M. Haldane, recipient of the 2016 Nobel Prize in Physics. Professor Haldane is the Sherman Fairchild University Professor of Physics at Princeton University. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for his groundbreaking work on topological phases of matter, which has profoundly shaped our understanding of quantum systems and inspired new directions in condensed matter physics and quantum computations. In simple terms, his research revealed how certain materials can exhibit surprising and stable properties at the quantum level, paving the way for advances in technologies such as quantum computing and next-generation electronics. A pioneer in theoretical physics, Professor Haldane's contributions continue to influence the development of quantum technologies and deepen our fundamental understanding of the universe. Professor Haldane, we are very much honored to have you here with us today. You have the floor.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the ICTP and its contributions, which have been very important, and also a little bit about why we're excited about quantum science. 100 years old, why should we be excited about it today? And we'll see if it can help sustainable development. Next slide, please. Okay, so a key A key quote from the founder of ICTP, Abdus Salam, is in front of you. Scientific thought and its creation is the common and shared heritage of mankind, which really means that everyone should have access both to scientific thought and the possibility to contribute to its progression as we runs into the future and we understand more and more about the world around us. So one question is, why should basic science matter to developing countries? Surely all they need is applied science. Not true. The answer, as we heard in the inspiring life history recounted by Minister Paul Rapapa, is that nurturing even a small amount of basic science activity in a country and with international connections to the worldwide science has really the effect of developing an indigenous scientific culture, not just for research scientists who maybe collaborate abroad, but also it spreads to the students in those universities who are exposed to scientists with world connections and go on and take their expertise, maybe not continuing into basic with science all the time, but going on and applying the knowledge they've learned to do important things for their society, like as we heard from Paul Rapapa. Okay, so I think this is an important aspect of supporting basic science and transmitting it to the home countries of people. So human inquisitiveness and desire to understand the world around us is really a fundamental aspect of the human species. And it's a scientific method and the creation of scientific thought, as advocated by Salam, has been an incredible path to channel this impulse. In every country where science is taught, there can be maybe a small number, but there's a cadre of especially dedicated, enthusiastic science teachers who manage to transmit interest and love of science to their students. And some students really take into this really resonates with them, and there are many students who begin to dream of participating in the scientific knowledge that they've learned about. And they may succeed in admission to a local university, but that's the point where the contact with faculty who have developed international connections through programs like ICTP can be decisive in their evolution into science, becoming scientists despite all the difficulties that face them in their circumstances. So in about 60 years of existence, the ICTP has been a unique place for bringing together and inspiring selected students from countries with less access to international science and exposing them to it in courses and workshops and summer schools, which really give them a chance to follow their dream. And a key feature is the ability to network and develop professional connections with scientists in other countries. Science is a human activity. You might say the internet is available. You might have internet connection in your country and you can read stuff. Not at all. Science is a human activity and it requires face-to-face discussions to progress. You need to pose questions and answer questions, and it makes you think, and this is how we stumble across the way forward. And this is what the ICTP has been invaluable in facilitating. So my personal connection to ICTP dates back to the mid-1980s, and where I interacted with a Chinese physicist, Yu Lu, who was one of the early Chinese scientists who emerged after the disaster of the Cultural Revolution to try and rebuild science in China. And he was for many years, he was on the faculty of the ICTP and organized many things. And so it's always been a special place where you can meet, where scientists can meet people that they would not usually meet, right? There were all these, difficulties of visas and everything. The ICTP is only a place in the past, people from the Soviet Union and the US and everything would get together, and there was a place you could meet people that you would not meet elsewhere. It's a very valuable place. Okay, what about quantum science? So one of the strengths of the ICTP has been its activities in my area, which is, quantum condensed matter physics, as well as the high-energy quantum physics of its founder, Abdus Salam. He worked in high energy. I work in low energy, in very cold quantum systems. But quantum mechanics actually is a very universal scheme. We see that applying it to the beginning of the universe or high energy physics and very, very low energy physics at ultra millikelvin degrees, it's the same quantum mechanics. It's a fundamental framework that we've learned. And in fact, knowledge gained in one area can be translated into the other area. It's a very profound and universal framework. So anyway, this year we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the birth of modern quantum physics. And there are great hopes now. Suddenly there's great hopes for new quantum technologies, and there's a worldwide surge of interest in quantum science. Why? Okay. So the modern laws of quantum mechanics were established starting in 1925 and probably finished by about 1932. And we learned Heisenberg, who the famous Heisenberg uncertainty principle, Schrödinger with his wave function, Pauli with the Pauli principle, which is actually one question I was talking to someone, why don't quantum mechanics is all around us? Well, we have told that the atom is almost empty. It's got a nucleus and a cloud of electrons, but it's 99% empty space. So when we step on the floor, why don't we fall through the floor? Newton said, well, the fall exerts a force on you, the normal force, but he had no idea where it came from. He just thought it was obviously there. And, but since it's atoms in contact and there's such empty space, why it's not electric forces that push us apart. It turns out that Mr. Pauli, Professor Pauli's principle that two electrons can't be in the same place, basically, means that the electrons in our shoes, in the atoms of our shoes, can't occupy the same place as the electrons in the floor, and suddenly with the normal force, which is a everyday thing, which in mechanics is explained by, in one line by the quantum physics discovered by Pauli in this 1925 to 32 period. So quantum physics really gives you a profound set of explanations. It comes up with terms like, in semiconductors, in metals, electrons move around. In semiconductors, sometimes an absence of an electron called a hole moves around. That was, again, one of the, following up from one of the discoveries of Paul Dirac in reformulating this in this period. So the whole of our modern semiconductor industry, for example, follows from the profound discoveries in this brief period. Okay. So the laws of quantum mechanics have stood the test of time, and they've remained unchanged. You know, no one betting against quantum mechanics has kind of won out. Not even Einstein, it turns out. And so the laws are correct, and they've been known for 100 years. So don't we know everything? No. Just because we know the laws doesn't mean that we immediately know all they allow to happen. And what we've been discovering in recent years is surprises of all the kind of unusual things that quantum mechanics makes possible, and these are what we're trying to harness today in this new quantum technologies. So there's a similar thing in electromagnetism, which was there was probably finished around 1864. There was a period, and the laws of electromagnetism haven't really changed since 1864, when Maxwell finally put them together. A little bit before then, a lot of it was found by Mr. Faraday here. And there's a story that the British finance minister of the time, Gladstone, who later was prime minister, was being shown around Faraday's lab, and he said, "This is all very interesting, Professor Faraday, but what's it good for?" And supposedly, Faraday has said, "I don't know, but one day, sir, you may tax it." And of course, we don't know the possibilities that the discoveries of basic science will allow in producing the future technologies. I mean, so it's taken a long time, but indeed, things are still being discovered in electromagnetism. There was a whole new field called photonic crystals, which was quite unexpected. That happened, 20 years ago, and so things happen, even if it was a long time ago. So it took about some time for quantum mechanics. Starting around 1980, some new insights into quantum mechanics started to emerge with new kind of so-called topological states of matter, which I was involved in. But what's happened in quantum mechanics today is, apart from these interesting new states of matter made possible by quantum mechanics, is there's an idea called quantum information theory. And as these have married together, and this has given birth to this new dream of quantum computing. So Richard Feynman started thinking about quantum information theory in the late 1950s because he realized that computers were getting, even at that time, computers were getting smaller every year. And he realized at some point they will get so small that they reach atomic sizes, which we're now we're about 10 times atomic sizes today. And you start to have to worry about quantum mechanic principles. So he wanted to understand, if the computer was so small, when we required quantum mechanics, what principles would it work on? And this has evolved, and what's happening today is, starting with the ideas of Feynman, we've realized that instead of using experiments which like take a hammer and smash something and look at the bits that come out, we're starting to gently probe and nudge quantum states and try to make them do interesting things like information processing. And this leads to the idea that we may be now in the beginnings of a second quantum revolution, 100 years after the first, because really a completely different way of thinking about quantum mechanics is taking hold. And this may deepen our understanding of it and lead to practical uses of quantum mechanics and new technologies, maybe within the next 10 to 20 years, even earlier possibly. So the key message is, as we understand quantum mechanics better, new and strange possibilities for the materials of the future and the technologies they allow are emerging. And this is all starting with a series of unexpected discoveries, which I probably won't go through. But what is quantum information then? Classical information is a switch. The computer works with a switch which is either on or off, 1 or 0, a binary number, which is really a lot of atoms. Really, you can think of it as many, many atoms or many, many electrons with spins, which can point one way or the other way, but they are all pulled up when the switch is on and all down when the switch is off. But what happens when we reduce everything down to the smallest unit of information, a single spin? And this is the thing. The single spin can actually point it doesn't just point up or down, it can point in any direction. But if it's pointing one direction, it's got some chance of, if you measure it in another direction, it's pointing that way too, so it's smeared out. And this is really how the quantum information is spread out, and we can do something called entanglement with these things, but it's the qubit, the basic, simplest unit of quantum information, which is the thing which is being studied. So the central theme in these new approaches to quantum physics is a property called entanglement. It's an interesting word because it's got in each language has adopted a rather different word with an unrelated root for entanglement. In German, it was Verschrankung. It's Intrication in French. I used to know what it was in Italian, but I've forgotten, but etc. It's actually different mostly in each language. And this is actually not, people probably have heard of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, and that was, when I learned quantum mechanics, was taken as the fundamentally new, unusual feature of quantum mechanics. But now we really recognize entanglement is the key thing. And this was actually first recognized by Einstein. And it was viewed as nowadays it's viewed as the fuel which will drive future quantum information processes. But actually Einstein proposed it not because he was interested. He felt quantum mechanics was wrong. He thought it disagreed with relativity in various things. And although he got his Nobel Prize not for his relativity and gravity theories, he actually got it for his early 1906 contribution to the beginnings of quantum mechanics after Max Planck. But anyway, by 1935, he really felt quantum mechanics was just some kind of approximate scheme that maybe seemed to work but couldn't be the true scheme. And he called the property called entanglement, he called it spooky action at a distance. But Erwin Schrödinger kind of came up with at least Verschrankung, the German word, a kind of a more neutral expression for this quantum mechanical property. So Einstein proposed an experiment Now, it couldn't be done at the time, so it was a kind of thought experiment, but he showed that if you could do this experiment, it would certainly show that this property, entanglement property of quantum mechanics couldn't possibly be true, and the experiment would show that quantum mechanics was not a fundamental theory. Now, this would never be done in his, it turned out technology didn't evolve to do this experiment during his lifetime, but this is what it is. Again, these electrons have spins. Entanglement is present in chemical bonds. The chemical bond that holds us all together is made of 2 electrons, which in between two atoms. And to contain 2 electrons, to satisfy Mr. Pauli, who says you can't have 2 electrons in the same state at the same place, they actually have to have opposite directions of their 2 spins. But when they're like that, they can also be the other way around, and because they're identical particles. So this is actually the maximally entangled state of 2 electrons, each of which could be thought of as a qubit. But the problem that worried Einstein was that if I could stretch this bond to make them far apart, then you couldn't, one electron would be half up, half down, the other would be half down, and you wouldn't know which was which until you measured it. If you measured one, the other one would always be pointing in the opposite direction. And he seemed to say that would violate relativity. It sounded like the signals traveling faster than the speed of light. So he thought that was wrong. And this experiment was proposed to test it. It didn't take place during his lifetime. But the people who did this experiment and improved it got the Nobel Prize in 2022 because quantum mechanics emerged from this test with 100% grade. Complete quantum mechanical predictions were exactly confirmed. Now, so this showed entanglement is a true property of quantum mechanics, but the problem is it's very strong in a chemical bond, but if you have it over a large distance, it's very fragile. So all the new technologies are based on trying to maintain entanglement over distances larger than atomic scale, and then use it to store and process quantum information. So the original proposal of Einstein, Propulsi, and Rosen has actually turned from being an experiment to test quantum mechanics. It's given rise to a way to a technology for secure communications. It started off being demonstrated along a optic fiber in Lake Geneva, but now it's been done between satellites. And people are now starting to dream about using this technology for a possible secure internet, a quantum internet of the future. Right? This is actually a practical thing has come out of a theoretical thought experiment. And this is how technologies develop once you understand fundamental issues. Okay. So the fragility of decoherence through coupling to the environment left people very skeptical about whether quantum information can occur in practice. And like energy production by nuclear fusion, it works very well on paper, but implementing it, the details matter. But there's been an outpouring of such quantum research, including surprises, and in fact, lots of new things have come out of quantum, and things seem to be working better than we initially would have thought, and people are getting optimistic in some way. So let me just finish on some of the practical uses of quantum technology so far. What I work on, this topological quantum states, originally were discovered, one of them was discovered experimentally, the so-called quantum Hall effect, where some measurements give you remarkably precise numbers that just depend on fundamental constants of nature, even though they take place in a complicated, dirty semiconductor device. This result has come out from the lab and has actually now replaced the kilogram which was a lump of platinum in Paris. The Emperor Napoleon introduced an imperialistic French imperialism around the world by controlling the kilogram in all the metric countries. And so in principle, if your market trader was swindling you, you had to go and check your weights against, you had to knock on the door in Paris and say, can you check if my kilogram is the good one? Now, because of now we've worked out how to do it with quantum mechanics. Every country can have its own kilogram, but it's now a Kibble balance working on quantum science. So this is an example of the feedback from esoteric new properties of quantum mechanics that have been described. So today, development of viable physical qubits has moved from science to technology and out of universities to industry. All the major companies and governments are pushing this. And things now become proprietary and not being shared anymore, right? An open science issue. So can the university scientists in either the developed or the developing world still contribute? Yes. To make this future hardware work and perform calculations, we need to understand quantum mechanics to work out how to introduce quantum error correcting codes, topologically protected quantum computing, and the like. So what about the uses of it? One use scenario is Feynman's original one, that for better material designs, our present-day computers can't really calculate quantum mechanical properties of matter. So we really have to rely partly on actually making the stuff. You know, we can kind of fiddle our models afterwards to sort of make it look right. But with a quantum computer, we could indulge in true material, you know, things like drug design by molecular true design. So Feynman's pointed out that to calculate quantum mechanical properties, which we can't do with regular computers, the ideal thing is a quantum computer. What other things, I don't know, we could do lots of, but anyway. So more generally, UNESCO's activities in supporting unique institutions such as ICTP that empower scientists from developing countries to contribute to international science and create scientific thought is a really vital part, and I really applaud UNESCO for this support. And as I said, going back to sustainable development, sustainable development and development of culture and scientific culture go hand in hand, and indeed, UNESCO has both science and culture in its mandate. And scientific culture has spread from basic to applied research and technology is crucial. And I think that's what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Halden, for this fascinating and deeply insightful presentation. Thank you for showing the importance of basic science in developing the next generation of leaders, not just in academia, but in other fields as well. Your ability to illuminate complex quantum phenomena and connect them to tangible societal impact is precisely the kind of contribution we need here at the United Nations. Your work exemplifies the power of fundamental science to drive innovation with far-reaching implications, not only for emerging technologies like quantum computing, but also for the way we understand and shape our world. This is the essence of science policy interface, ensuring that scientific discovery informs global decision-making, and that the international community creates enabling environments for research to thrive and benefit all. We are truly honored by your presence and grateful for your continued efforts to advance both scientific knowledge and international collaboration. As we are preparing to move to our panel discussions, we'll now screen a short video about ICTP. Immediately afterward, Professor Simonetta Di Pippo will moderate our distinguished panel. Thank you.
Okay, it seems that we are not going to see the video. So, good afternoon, everyone, and it's a pleasure for me to be here at this important event and to have the privilege to moderate such a distinguished panel. Well, throughout my career as director of the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, and then now as a professor and a president of the Inspire for Tomorrow Foundation, I've championed a fundamental belief. So science is not a privilege. Science is a right. It must be an accelerator for equality, inclusion, and sustainability. As director of UNUSA, I had the honor to oversee the International Committee on Global Navigation Satellite Systems, GNSS, ICG, a flagship initiative dedicated to harnessing satellite navigation for socioeconomic sustainable development. In collaboration with the Abdus Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics, we work to bring advanced GNSS applications and scientific training to underrepresented regions, particularly across Africa. Well, today the results are tangible. GNSS infrastructure has been deployed in universities. Scientists who have once lacked access to data are now contributing to global ionospheric research. Governments are beginning to use space-based solutions to improve agriculture, disaster management, and emergency response. These are not just technical accomplishments, they are milestones of equity and empowerment. And yet, the global scientific landscape remains deeply unbalanced. This is why today's event matters. We are gathered here not only to reflect, but to act under the framework of the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology, and always keeping in mind the International Decade of Sciences for Sustainable Development. These initiatives are not symbolic. They are strategic instruments to align science with the needs of humanity and the planet. This is also why I founded the Inspire for Tomorrow Foundation, so to champion inclusive STEM education, quantum, AI, space, and digital cooperation, to prepare the next generation of change makers, and to support the implementation of the Pact for the Future, an ambitious call by the United Nations to accelerate the Sustainable Development Goals through multilateral cooperation and innovation, and build a new scientific multilateralism where collaboration, not competition, guides our approach. This moment, this event, is part of that journey, and a reminder that the future of science is not written in labs or policies alone, but it is written in our shared commitment to make knowledge work for peace, for people, and for the planet. And now, allow me to introduce the panelists. And my first panelist, we have the honor to have Dr. Atish Dabokar, Director of the Abdus Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics and UNESCO Assistant Director General. And a renowned theoretical physicist, Dr. Dabokar has long championed international scientific collaboration, with a particular focus on empowering researchers from the Global South. Under his leadership, ICTP continues to serve as a vital platform for scientific excellence, capacity building, and inclusive global partnerships, true to its founding vision of science for development. I understand that ICTP is a Category 1 institute affiliated with UNESCO, which speaks to its strong connection with the organization and its important role in advancing science, particularly in areas like quantum research and international collaboration. So my question is, you as the director of ICTP, could you share with us how the center is working to expand global collaboration in quantum science, particularly in support of scientists from developing regions? Please.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. I would like to just start out by saying that it's a great honor to be here in the United Nations to celebrate the accomplishments and the promise of the Abdus Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics. And I would like to thank in particular the Permanent Mission of Italy and UNESCO, and in particular Ambassador Massari and Elliot Minchenberg for this opportunity. So let me, to answer your question, let me just very quickly tell you a few things about ICTP, which will put the question in context. So the first slide. So ICTP is in this beautiful location in Trieste, hosted by Italy, right next to it's actually a UNESCO bioreserve. Next slide. Next slide. And we are governed by a tripartite agreement between IAEA, who are sitting here, UNESCO, and Italy. It's a Category 1 center of UNESCO. And our mission is based on these fundamental foundational principles: scientific excellence at the frontiers, global inclusion for scientific resources so that it's available to everyone, and international cooperation for and through science. And I believe that the relevance of ICTP is even greater in the next quantum century, as you can see. But just to see, we just celebrated our 60th anniversary, the kind of impact that ICTP has had. We have about 400 scientists working at ICTP at any time from 100 countries. Close to 200,000, as was mentioned by the ambassador, have been to ICTP from basically every member state. Every year we get 600 scientists, about 65% are from developing countries, fully funded by ICTP, 32% are women. And about excellence, we have contributed to many breakthroughs, including to several Nobel Prizes. So this is really an impressive achievement for a relatively small institution. Next slide. And we are not only conducting research at ICTP in Trieste, but we have several activities all over the world, a number of partner institutes in Brazil, in Rwanda, Mexico, in China. So you can see that ICTP's impact is really enormous. Next slide. Now I will come to looking to the future, what does ICTP stand for? So, roughly speaking, as we heard from Professor Haldane, the first quantum century was about the fact that the energy is quantum. That I think was at the foundation of all the enormous technological progress that we have seen. Transistors, everything, lasers, it depends on the fact that energy is quantum. And already something like, by some estimates, 30 to 50% of world economy, which is like 30 to 50 trillion dollars, is quantum. The next quantum century is going to be about information being quantum, as Professor Haldane mentioned. But the important point is that quantum science must come before quantum technology. And this is also the point was mentioned. There is really no royal shortcut that you can just jump, a country can jump to doing quantum technology if you don't have people who understand quantum mechanics. And this is the role of ICTP, this is the role of UNESCO. To create a community of quantum scientists is really fundamental to development. For example, in the coming years, computing is going to become extremely important. I mean, high performance computing, AI, but that also depends actually on the quantum, the fact that the energy is quantum. And now the quantum computing will depend on this other very subtle aspect of quantum mechanics, which was mentioned, that information is quantum, that you have qubits instead of ordinary bits where ones and zeros can actually somehow be mingled together. And this is where I believe ICTP has the mandate to play a very decisive role. And with this in view, we have launched two major initiatives. One is an International Science Alliance and the International Consortium for Scientific Computing. Basically, remaining true to the inspiration of Salam, but thinking about it in the modern context, that now many countries, like the BRICS countries, are at a very different stage of their scientific and economic development. So ICTP would really like to engage in equal partnerships. So now we have several agreements. In Brazil, recently we signed. So I really would like that the member states should consider this, that whoever is interested, I have listed some countries here, but we have many other collaborations with national and international agencies, with foundations like the Simons Foundation, who are sitting here, and Arab Fund, Kuwait Foundation, many corporations like IBM. So I think this is how ICTP is preparing itself to make quantum science available broadly to the whole world. Because I think it is very important to emphasize to the policymakers that without fundamental science, we cannot have technology. And this is a very nice quote which says that in the conditions of modern life, the rule is absolute. The society which does not value trained intelligence is doomed. Today we maintain ourselves. Tomorrow science would have moved over. And there will be no appeal from the judgment of history that will be pronounced on the uneducated. And this is, I really believe, is the fundamental role of ICTP, that we are giving the trained intelligence, which I think is far more important than simply transferring technology. So I think I will, next slide, this is the, so we really imagine ICTP as this lighthouse for science. It's really the global lighthouse. This is a lighthouse in Trieste. You can see ICTP in the background. And we really think of ICTP as the lighthouse for science. Let me just end by saying one thing that Professor Dipipo talked about, science being a right, and I agree with her, science is a right. But since we are at the United Nations at an event co-organized by UNESCO, I would like to recall an exchange between the first Director General of UNESCO, which was Julian Huxley, and one of my great compatriots, Mahatma Gandhi. So when the World Charter of Rights was being written, Huxley reached out to Gandhi, among other people. And Gandhi's response was actually characteristically original and very incisive. He kind of declined, saying that in his conception, rights and duties cannot be separated. So if you have inalienable rights, there are inalienable duties. And this is really the core inspiration of ICTP, which is very relevant for us, that those of us who enjoy the right to pursue science and to enjoy the technological fruits and the economic prosperity that follows, I think there is a corresponding duty to ensure that this right is available to all. It's for the benefit of all, so that the next Ramanujan who may be growing up in Africa is not lost. And more broadly, just as we have the right to harness nature using science, we have the corresponding duty to preserve it using science. So I think this is where I would stop. ICTP considers it our duty to make advanced science globally available in the next quantum century. And we engage in this very noble mission with a renewed commitment, and we count on the support of all our partners who are present here. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your insightful answer, and I will say that I fully agree with what you said. Right and duties are often together, entangled, I would say. So turning now to Dr. Gregory Gabadadze, sorry. So I wanted to pronounce it again to try to do my best in order to pronounce it well. So he's the Senior Vice President for Mathematics and Physical Sciences at the Simons Foundation. He's a distinguished theoretical physicist whose research has significantly advanced our understanding of gravitation and quantum field theory. He has held academic appointments at leading institutions, including New York University, where he served as Dean for Science and Professor of Physics. As a scholar, he is known for his contributions to theories of massive gravity and modified gravity, exploring the deep structure of space-time. In his current role at the Simons Foundation, he oversees programs that support groundbreaking research in mathematics and the physical sciences, with a strong emphasis on fostering collaboration and innovation across disciplines. So, given your expertise in gravitational theories and your leadership at one of the most prominent private science foundations, how crucial do you see the role of private funding in complementing public initiatives to advance quantum research globally? And could you briefly share how the foundation contributes to fostering innovation and collaboration in this field? Please.
Thank you very much, Dr. DiPipo. Before I answer your questions, let me congratulate our colleagues from ICTP with a wonderful jubilee. It's a remarkable place, and it should continue its remarkable mission. Congratulations. Also, congratulations to Italy with 70th year of joining the UN, and Ambassador Massari, thank you so much for organizing this event, as well as Elliot, thank you so much for organizing the event. Well, as you heard, wonderful presentation from Professor Haldane, and Dr. Abokar just reiterated a few other points related to quantum. Quantum science is more than 100 years old already, and there is no single aspect of human life which is not already affected by consequences of those developments. They started in a rough way before the World War II and ended up with various sources of energies, which today are used primarily in peaceful purposes and hopefully will continue to be used that way. But that development also created remarkable international collaboration. Perhaps many projects, many big projects around the world which embrace scientists from different backgrounds, different countries, can trace back to post-World War II developments. I don't know if ICTP can trace. It definitely traces to Professor Abdus Salam and his strive to help developing countries. So quantum has always been there. Now, why this new development and why so much attention, for which actually we are very appreciative, and we definitely support that, and it's very important to support. What's happening is probably the first time in the history of humankind then one can, or scientists and engineers can devise, synthesize, manipulate, and control quantum materials and quantum systems to unprecedented precisions so that they can be used in many aspects of industry, whether it's quantum sensing, whether it's quantum computation, hopefully whole science of quantum information, or whether it's quantum materials, which somebody can order with certain properties, and then possibly they can be calculated first and then synthesized in a lab so that we don't necessarily rely on what minerals we find in the earth or elsewhere. So it's very important to support this. That approach probably enables quantum science and quantum technology to be accessible to countries which are not in the elite in terms of their developments and have probably less resources. Hopefully that is the case. So it is indeed very important to support quantum. Now to the questions. I apologize, I went a little long. There are public initiatives, and then there are federal agencies, of course, which fund science in general. We shouldn't make a mistake that and say that private foundations somehow can substitute either public initiatives or federal dollars or any other currency. So federal support should be there 100%. Without it, development will be stopped. Development won't continue. You are probably all aware we're living a very difficult time when these aspects are questioned. Various different schemes are being proposed. Even if quantum is among the initiatives that are being proposed and prioritized, still, if the infrastructure and logistics of how that is supported disrupted, then the statements that we need to support quantum won't help the development, actually. So the federal money should be there, no question about this. That said, there is a very important role to philanthropy. The philanthropy contribution is not at the level of the federal, probably won't be in any foreseeable future. There are still differences, roughly order of magnitude differences perhaps in this country, if you very roughly estimate. Nevertheless, it's very important because private philanthropy provides support in ways that federal agencies cannot. Private philanthropy is more flexible. We are looking at more original ways of doing support. Just to give you a couple of examples how Simons Foundation does that. One example would be the Flatiron, what's called the Flatiron Institute. This is an in-house research enterprise within the Simons Foundation. It has a wonderful Center for Computational Quantum Physics. This is a big group of computational physicists addressing very important problems in a concentrated way, and it will be very hard to imagine a federal agency supporting something like that in any one localized place, while the Simons Foundation can do that. A related initiative is a catalysis initiative in chemistry, which obviously is related to quantum chemistry, but not only. So another example is what's called Simons collaborations. So these are groups of between 10 to 15 principal investigators, and they can be around the world, actually. We only ask the director of the collaboration to be in the Western Hemisphere, in the United States or Canada. But other than that, they can be anywhere. As you can imagine, any local federal agency wouldn't be able to support something like this, and that definitely increases collaboration, global collaboration between sciences and scientists everywhere. So we definitely would like to continue that. Perhaps I will end with somewhat more sentimental comment. Jim Simons, who was a co-founder of the Simons Foundation, tomorrow will be exactly 1 year when he passed away. And before passing away, one of the few interesting things that he was thinking and he was intrigued by was entanglement in quantum systems, but he also wanted to apply that in the cosmology of early universe and gravity. And that tells you how much quantum and support for quantum is ingrained within the structure of the Simons Foundation. So we'll definitely be continuing to support. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and also thank you for having, underlined the crucial synergy between philanthropy and public support, which is extremely important for driving impactful science globally. So this brings me to the next speaker, Professor Aissa Wad, a leading voice in the promotion of mathematical sciences across Africa. Professor Wad is a distinguished mathematician whose research spans differential geometry and mathematical physics. She currently serves as chair of the African Mathematical Union's Commission for Developing Countries as a professor of Pennsylvania State University. She has been instrumental in advancing mathematics, education, and research infrastructure across the African continent, mentoring young scientists and building networks to strengthen local capacity and global collaboration. So the question for you is, you have led prominent initiatives promoting mathematical sciences in Africa. How does mathematics underpin quantum advancements and the broader achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, especially in underserved communities? Please.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. And I would like to first take this opportunity to thank ICTP for its support. I was a postdoc at ICTP during 99-2000. And it was really great. And I want to say that ICTP is really impactful for people coming from Africa. So I was born and raised in Senegal, and I did my master's degree in Senegal before going to France. And after my PhD, I went to ICTP. I spent really great time there. So the impact of ICTP, I can tell, I cannot measure it because I know a lot of people who went to ICTP and who are great mathematicians right now in Africa. Thank you. Okay, now to come to your question. So I would say that mathematics is the key for unlocking the potential of quantum science. Let me explain a little bit. So you use mathematics tools from mathematics in quantum computing, in quantum sensing, and in quantum communication. So let us just focus on quantum computing first. Just remind you that quantum algorithms are the backbone of quantum computing. Now, these algorithms are very, very complex compared to the classical ones, okay? And for developers to design them, they really need a strong background in mathematics. So they use a lot of theories from mathematics. For example, thank you. For example, they use number theory. So they can also use probability theory. They can use control theory, Boolean algebra, or matrix algebra. So just to say a few of them. So for quantum computing, we already know what this can do for underrepresented, underdeveloping countries. For developing countries, sorry. So what can we say about this? Climate modeling. Quantum computing will, of course, change a lot about what we know about climate modeling right now. So this is going to be something that's going to change also the life of many people in Africa, okay? Because they depend on the agriculture. They need better climate modeling. They also will be using weather forecasting, and what I believe is that quantum computing will offer better climate forecasting. So also, just to tell you that in mathematics, so there are new fields like quantum cryptography. Another field will be quantum optimization. This can be used in agriculture. Quantum geometry is a new field also. There are a lot that can be changed in developing countries. And also just to say about the SDGs, so quantum computing can do a lot about this, because I already tell about climate change, to fight hunger, to fight poverty. So this also can be done through better agriculture. So something like quantum optimization is a new field in mathematics that can change a lot. Because if you have a better management of the agricultural, of the production from your agriculture, so this can be something that we can, I think, will help a lot. In the field, in the medical field, combined with AI, so we know that quantum sensing can do a lot. So I think this will change the life of many poor countries, the life of many poor people from developing countries. So just to summarize, I think mathematics will be very important in developing the potential of quantum science. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And it's been very interesting to listen to what you had to tell us. Very interesting. And I would like to take the opportunity to really thank all of you for very insightful comments. But I understand we still have time for a few questions. And I have a list of speakers. The first one I have in my list is the distinguished delegates from Pakistan. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, ma'am. We thank Permanent Mission of Italy and UNESCO for organizing this event to mark the 60th anniversary of the Abdul Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics. Ma'am, Pakistan has a proud legacy of scientific achievement and cooperation, particularly in field of physics. The Abdul Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics, named after Pakistan's first Nobel laureate in physics, Professor Abdul Salam, stands as a global symbol of scientific excellence and inclusive education. Ma'am, we commend UNESCO and ICTP for their continued efforts to promote universal access to science and technology, especially in underdeserved regions, empowering scientists from developing countries to become leaders in their fields. Pakistan reaffirms its unwavering support for global scientific cooperation and the promotion of scientific literacy. I thank you, ma'am.
I thank you, distinguished delegates from Pakistan. And now I have in my list the group of Friends of the Science for Action. Where is the, okay, please.
Yes, thank you very much. This is more of a statement than a question, but I'll keep it brief. So, Excellencies, colleagues, it's my pleasure to address this event as Belgium on behalf of the group of Friends on Science for Action. Our group of friends emphasizes the importance of actionable scientific knowledge to make evidence-informed decisions with the aim of accelerating progress toward the SDGs. This is particularly relevant in the case of quantum science. Advancements in quantum hold great transformative power in computing, sensing, and communication, all with promising implications for advancing sustainable development. However, quantum science is also costly and technically complex, as we heard in the keynote speech as well. Therefore, international scientific cooperation is necessary to support capacity building as well as commitment to principles of open science, training, and knowledge sharing. Breakthroughs in quantum science also come with pressing governance and ethical challenges. Frameworks that include multi-stakeholder inputs can ensure that advances in quantum science align with shared ethical standards. It's also important to note that while quantum science can alleviate environmental issues, the development and maintenance of quantum infrastructure also pose certain environmental considerations, such as the sourcing of rare earth minerals. It is essential that member states work together to ensure that future development aligns with global climate and environmental goals. Multilateral support for this cooperation can foster broader participation of scientists from all regions and help narrow global digital divides. In conclusion, for quantum science to fulfill its potential, we must ensure inclusive participation in its development and equitable access to and benefits from its advances. To that end, the Group of Friends on Science for Action calls for greater investment in quantum science education, research infrastructure, and international cooperation mechanisms to build a truly global quantum community. I thank you.
Thank you very much. And very interesting also your statement. And the next speaker I have on my list is Fondazione Compagnia di San Paolo. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dear Ambassador, dear Assistant Director General, dear Minister, we as Compagnia di San Paolo Foundation are very pleased to have the opportunity to further testify how philanthropy can offer an additional degree of freedom to the international multilateral collaboration. Together with the public and the private sector, philanthropy can add the dimension of a private institution for the common good. We are committed to the 2030 Agenda, and since 2020, we are organized according to the SDGs into three main goals: people and peace, planet and prosperity, culture. Our actual strategic plan puts at the very center education, science and research as fundamental tools to reverse inequalities and grant an inclusive and sustainable development. In this context, we fund research institutions, universities, young researchers, and high-impact transformative processes more than projects. We acknowledge that ICTP has gained great recognition through the last 60 years as an inclusive global hub for scientific exchange and cooperation, making crucial contribution to the progress of physics and related disciplines worldwide. We have therefore been very happy and honored to be involved and to offer our contributions, also in terms of capacity, in the recent undertaking promoted by ICTP Italy and Simons Foundation, aiming to secure the Adriatico building to the guest house for ICTP for the future decades. We look at this project as transformative for ICTP. The renovated building will be, in a more significant way, a real infrastructure for global science, a project made possible through cross-border philanthropic cooperation to which we are committed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for the sake of time, we have to stop here the part of the program related to question and answers. So I would like to thank again all the speakers, and I would like to pass the floor to Estelle. Estelle, please.
Thank you very much. I am now pleased to turn to the testimonials of former ICTP students. I was myself an ICTP student from 2013 to 2018, and that experience has clearly influenced my path, not only as a physicist, but also as someone deeply committed to inclusive science and international exchanges. ICTP provided me with world-class training, a supportive community, and a truly global perspective on research, elements that continue to shape the way I approach my work today. Coming originally from Cameroon, where I completed my master's in physics, I faced significant limitations in pursuing high-quality training and research opportunities due to limited infrastructure. I still vividly remember spending hours at local internet cafes because there was not a good internet connection on campus, or struggling to access recent research papers because of lack of subscription. ICTP's scholarship provided me with crucial support that opened doors to cutting-edge education in condensed matter physics and statistical physics. This aligns strongly with SDG 4, quality education, and SDG 10, reduce inequalities. As ICTP and UNESCO create pathways for talented individuals from developing regions to thrive and contribute significantly to the global scientific progress. Following my diploma and joined ICTP CISA PhD degrees, I continued my scientific journey at the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics in Canada, where I co-authored a paper that emulates quantum and classical annealing using neural networks, which has opened up a new avenue to solve complex optimization problems with quantum-inspired techniques and generative neural networks. My continuous engagement with ICTP includes returning as a speaker and organizer. Most notably, co-organizing last year joint ICTP Herero School and Conference on Frontiers at the intersection of quantum simulation and machine learning. The global scientific cooperation fostered by ICTP perfectly embodies SDG 17, Partnerships for the Goals, uniting diverse international scientific communities. Moreover, the spirit of ICTP continues in those I mentor and collaborate with. For instance, Nishan Vanabat, my former postdoc from Nepal and former ICTP diploma and PhD student, now perpetuates Abdus Salam's legacy by co-organizing with ICTP outreach activities such as the School of Numerical Simulation and Quantum Many-Body Systems in Nepal. This exemplifies the lasting impact of ICTP's mission to empower scientists worldwide. Committed to developing science capacity in Africa, I've supervised African Institute for Mathematical Science AIM students, some of whom have continued with their PhD studies at home university or abroad. I've equally hosted interns from various developing countries at Perimeter and participated actively in conferences across Africa. These efforts directly support SDG 9, Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure, and SDG 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth, by contributing to scientific and technological advancement essential for sustainable development. Italy's integral role in my scientific trajectory cannot be overstated. My collaboration with Italian institutions continued through joint workshops, including the 2023 event on many-body quantum physics with machine learning, which I co-organized at the European Center for Theoretical Studies in Nuclear Physics and Related Areas in Trento, collaborations with my former ICTP supervisor and hosting Italian colleagues at Perimeter further cement this enduring scientific partnership. Driven by insight from my studies at ICTP and CISA, I also co-founded a quantum and AI tech startup called IANIQ, where we develop software solutions for solving complex optimization problems in finance. Some of the algorithms I first encountered during my diploma and PhD have been further developed for commercialization. This venture exemplifies how scientific research can cross boundaries from lab to market, fostering economic growth and innovation. In conclusion, my journey clearly illustrates ICTP's profound impact and UNESCO and Italy's visionary support for sustainable development through scientific education and collaboration. Let us perpetuate Abdus Salam's vision. Scientific thought and its creation is the common and shared heritage of mankind, fostering inclusive global scientific advancement for a resilient and sustainable future. Allow me to sincerely thank Italy. Italy has long championed scientific excellence, a nation with a remarkable scientific legacy from Galileo to Fermi and modern contribution in theoretical physics. Un sentito ringraziamento all'Italia per il costante e generoso sostegno alla scienza internazionale. Thank you, Italy, for your constant and generous support for international science. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to UNESCO for tirelessly advocating for education, science, and collaboration, providing opportunities that bridge divides and build lasting global partnerships. Your enduring partnership with ICTP exemplifies the reach of scientific excellence, enabling knowledge exchange through cooperation. Finally, my deepest thanks goes to ICTP. Without your profound influence, unwavering support, and inspired community, I will not be who I am today. ICTP has not only shaped my career, but has profoundly impacted my life. Thank you for transforming dreams into reality. I will now resume my role as moderator. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And it's my pleasure to introduce Raji Ashenafi Mamade, an inspiring young scientist whose journey has captured the attention of many. Raji's path from Ethiopia to the halls of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology is a remarkable example of perseverance, talent, and the critical importance of accessible education and opportunity. A former ICTP student, Raji is now pursuing his PhD at MIT, where he continues to deepen his research in the physical sciences. So Raji, your exceptional journey inspires countless young scientists around the world. How has your experience at ICTP and MIT shaped your perspective on international scientific cooperation?
Thank you very much. I also want to start by thanking the organizers for inviting me. I feel very honored to be sitting among people who have achieved life and are telling their experience about ICTP. And second, I want to apologize for what I'm going to say, because I was invited to talk about my experience, to give a testimonial, but everything I'm going to say is already said. First, Honorable Minister Paulo Rapapa said everything I wanted to say about my first experience, about the first visa, the first time I stepped my foot on the plane, the first time I stepped out of Ethiopia, about being the only student with a BSSC among people who had master's degree during the diploma program. And Professor Hal didn't even use the quote of Abdul Salam I was going to use. So I'm going to improvise, and I'm very sorry if the sound is very repetitive. Just to give you a perspective, my background before I went to ICTP, I was born and raised in a very small town called Gdami. It's about 700 kilometers from the capital. It's in the westmost of Oromia region of Ethiopia. The condition I grew up in were very far from ideal. We didn't have enough books beyond the standard classroom textbooks. We didn't have even a table to write on in our classrooms. There is a little promotion of fundamental sciences. After I came to MIT and talking with many students, I realized that students from more developed countries are introduced to physics and the fundamental sciences from early on. Like even in their primary and high school years, they knew what they want to do, even the particular research area they want to do. That was not the case for me. I didn't have that experience. I didn't even have a computer until I joined the university in Ethiopia. There were no books on popular science or physics, and on top of that, there's a lot of pushbacks against people who want to pursue those fundamental sciences, those sciences for which you cannot see the result immediately. But growing up, I liked mathematics and solving equations, but it was only in my last year of high school that I heard about quantum mechanics, and then I fell in love with it. Professor Halde was talking about atomic models. It was actually about the quantum mechanical model of atoms, and we learned about beta particles, which first showed that most of the atom is empty. Then it was like this: beta particles are emitted by nucleus. So there are neutrons and protons, and beta particles are emitted. But beta particles are negatively charged, and the nucleus is positively charged. So I asked my teacher, how come negatively charged particle come from inside of the positively charged particle? And my teacher told me that neutrons and protons are not really fundamental. They're substructure. If you could zoom out and look inside there are actually some other things. Then I started asking those questions. What's really fundamental? I still don't know. I'm asking that question. That's my research area. And there were no universities in Ethiopia that offer a course in theoretical physics, so I had to join applied physics. That also added to one of the inconveniences I had. But fortunately, even within the applied physics, one of my professors had been to ICTP to attend the conference. And when I told him that I'm interested in theoretical physics, he told me that I should look out for ICTP. So since my second year in university, I was preparing to come to ICTP. Then I finally came to ICTP and experienced what the Honorable Minister experienced. It was like stepping into a new world. In Ethiopia, I didn't have friends to share my passion of physics with. Then I came to ICTP. My friend Isai from Peru, like we wait until we leave the classroom because we were excited about the very topic we learned it to discuss with each other. It was amazing. And it was very intensive. It was not simple. And my background was not strong. Even for students whose background was relatively strong, it was very difficult. it was very scary. But what got me through is, and what I appreciated about ICTP the most is that the people there truly believed in us and what they were doing. So it was not like they were having pity on us or showing compassion to people with no good background. So they believed in us. They were not, they were preparing us to be the next generation of scientists. They did not see it as a philanthropy or, I don't know words to explain that, but they really believed in us. So for example, I did my diploma thesis with Professor Atish Dabholkar here. So he told me like, you should do this holographic entanglement entropy, you look at CFT on the side and gravity on that side. Then I told him, but I don't know CFT, how can I learn? Go read it. I read and I did it. And by the end of the way, before I say this, there was a T-shirt, one of the souvenirs of ICTP. There's a Lagrangian of standard model, all the physics we know, the universe as we know it now. So I saw it, but I did not want to buy as the first time I joined because I want to understand everything. Then I did 8 courses in 8 months, and by the end of the second course of standard model, I could do computation with every single term in the formula. Then, when we first joined, they recommended us that we go to colloquium, listen to the seminaries, but at first it was very daunting because it feels like not even language. It was something else. Then by the end of my program, I could talk to the speakers, ask questions, meaningfully contribute. My diploma thesis was on holographic entanglement entropy. One of the biggest discoveries of 21st century in energy physics is the fact that Professor Greg Gavaders was saying about the late Jim Simons. That quantum entanglement entropy knows a lot, like it's the first clue we had to understanding the very fabrics of the cosmos itself, of the space and time itself. So I worked on that. I really understood it. So I'm very happy. The scientists at IP are engaged in cutting-edge research, and another incredible aspect was that the sheer number of scientific programs organized at ICTP. Through this, I had the chance of meeting most of my academic heroes, Professor David Gross, Ed Wheaton, Ashok Sen, many Nobel laureates. And finally, to get back to international collaboration, what I said, Professor Haldin already said is the thing that resonated deeply with me. Also because whenever you walk into ICTP's building, I was there for 365 days. So every single time I walk into ICTP building, the quote I see is this: scientific thought and its creation is the most common and shared heritage of mankind. So it's deeply ingrained in me. Fundamental science is a universal language, as many of the speakers were stressing already. And more important is that science is not a zero-sum game. No one should be left behind. We also need as many people as possible pushing the frontier of our knowledge forward. The fundamental sciences are now so advanced and hyper-specialized that it's virtually impossible to make progress by confining research to specific geographical areas. For example, I'm now based at MIT in the US, but my professor is Peruvian. I'm working with him. My first paper was with a student who is from Turkey. And my next project is going to be with a scientist from India. So we cannot really do physics now, as used to be the case within a confined area. We need global cooperation and the inclusion of as many voices and talents as we can bring to the table. Those talents could well be those that we did not know we needed. And I'm grateful to have been given the opportunity to be one of those contributing to that frontier. There's still, as we all agree, a lot to do. For example, I am the only Black student and one of the only 2 African students doing PhD in physics at MIT. So I shared my highlights of my journey also from my background because I believe this is a typical situation of a student growing in developing countries, more specifically in Africa. And I truly believe there are millions of untapped talents around the world just waiting to be discovered. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. God bless you.
Thank you, Raji, for sharing your incredible journey with us. It's very obvious that you are very excited about physics. Your story is deeply inspiring, and it's also a reminder of what is possible when talent meets opportunity. To close today's rich and inspiring discussion, it is now my honor to invite Ms. Viviane Okeke to deliver the closing remarks. Ms. Okeke serves as the representative of the Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, to the United Nations and is director of the IAEA's New York office, a seasoned diplomat and senior international civil servant. She brings extensive experience in multilateral negotiations on science and technology for development, including nuclear applications, energy, and disarmament. Ms. Okeke, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished guests and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and pleasure to be standing before you as also a lady from the Global South, from Nigeria, a developing country. We join you today to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Abdul Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics, a beacon of scientific excellence and international cooperation. On behalf of the IAEA Director General, Mr. Rafael Moreno Grossi, I extend our deepest congratulations to ICTP, UNESCO, and the Italian government for 6 decades of transformative contributions to science and sustainable development. The IAEA takes great pride in having been part of the ICTP's journey from the very beginning, as His Excellency Ambassador Masare already noted in his opening remarks. In fact, the first Scientific Council meeting for ICTP was convened by the IAEA to shape the center's strategy and bring to life the vision of its founder, Nobel laureate Abdul Salam. Today, we celebrate not only ICTP's remarkable growth, but also the enduring strength of the tripartite agreement among the IAEA, UNESCO, and the Italian government, a partnership that continues to empower scientists worldwide. ICTP's global network of researchers stands as a testament to the power of collaboration. Through our strategic partnerships, the IAEA and ICTP have created a unique intellectual bridge connecting scientists, especially from developing countries, to cutting-edge research and training in nuclear science and technology and its peaceful applications. Each year, the IAEA and ICTP jointly organize more than 10 workshops in TRES, spanning critical topics from nuclear security in energy management. For example, the IAEA ICTP International School on Nuclear Security equips professionals from developing countries with the expertise needed to meet global security guidance. Since 2010, our nuclear energy management schools have trained the next generation of leaders in sustainable energy solutions. One of the crowning achievements of our collaboration is the Masters in Medical Physics program delivered jointly by ICTP and the University of Trieste with direct support from IAEA. This initiative, enhanced by hands-on training in Italian hospitals, has produced 172 graduates from 72 countries, advancing global health through the peaceful uses of nuclear technology. Beyond training, the IAEA ICTP Sandwich Training Educational Program, STEP, opened doors for young scientists from developing countries to pursue advanced research, fostering a new generation of experts who strengthen scientific communities back home. Additionally, fellows from the IAEA Maria Sklodowski-Curie Fellowship Program, which supports women in the nuclear field, have benefited immensely from ICTP's world-class facilities and mentorship. At its core, ICTP and the IAEA share a fundamental mission to harness the unifying power of science for international cooperation and understanding. From Abdul Salam's pioneer work to the breakthroughs of today's researchers, ICTP has expanded the frontiers of knowledge while embodying the spirit of inclusivity and innovation. As we mark this milestone, let us reaffirm our commitment to to advancing global scientific collaboration, particularly through initiatives like the International Decade of Science for Sustainable Development and the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology. Together, we can ensure that science remains a driving force for resilience and progress. Finally, the IAA is grateful to stand alongside ICTP, UNESCO, and the government of Italy, and all other partners in this vital endeavor. We look forward to the next 60 years of discovery, partnership, and impact. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Okike, for your insightful closing remarks. Many thanks again to the permanent missions of Italy to the United Nations and UNESCO for making this event possible. Thank you all for coming. The meeting is adjourned.